Hello everyone, welcome to this online typing session specially designed for CM1 students. Now we all know that both the institutes IFOA and IAI are now conducting online typing based exam. So it's our duty guys to teach you how to convert your mathematical answers into a presentable word script. Now please note that this class is completely technical and we won't be learning any concepts here. Okay, we are just trying to present our answers in an effective and efficient manner. Okay, this class is for CM1 students, but please stay tuned with us for the further videos where we would be covering further subjects as well. Okay, since it is our first class, we would first be covering some basic MS Word shortcuts, and then we would be moving to specific chapters which are 1, 2, 3 and 4 of CM1 for today. Okay. Now please note that there are two approaches of typing your answers in the exams in both the institutes. First one is use of equation editor and second one is normal mathematical typing without the use of equation editor. We would be covering both the approaches, so don't worry about either. And please note that both the institute neither restrict any of the approach. So you can either use the first approach or the second approach or the combined version of the both. Okay. So let's start with our first MS Word shortcuts. Basic MS Word shortcuts. Let me underline it. I know you guys are thinking that we are going very slow, but these courses are specially designed for someone who has not opened a Word document till now. Okay, this is our first class. We would be going very slow, and for the further classes we would be increasing our speed, so don't worry about that. So let's start with opening a new document only. So it's Control plus N, opening a new document. Okay, then we have Control plus S to save a document. Now please note that both the institute restrict the use of this auto save functionality in your Word or Excel. So it's very important that you continuously hit Control plus S in your exam in the 3 or 20 minutes or whatever the timing to save your document. Okay. Then we have Control plus U to underline the text, then Control plus B to bold out the answer. Now I recommend students to usually bold out their final answer so that their final answers stand completely alone as compared to their whole workings. Okay, sometimes examiner may get confused and they may miss out something, so it's better to bold out a final answer. So in that case you will be using Control plus B. Okay, then we have Control plus I for italic text. Now please note that you are not usually supposed to use the italic text, but in some cases that, for example, you want to separate your heading and the theory portion, then you can somewhere use italic text. Okay. Then we have Control plus Z to undo some command. Now for example, we have got some mistake. For example, let me do this. So I do not want to write Control, I wanted to write something. So either I can use backspace or I can use Control Z. Okay, while I will be using backspace, I would be hitting it 4 times, but while using Control plus Z, it would be going in one single command. So it's usually for mistakes. Control plus Y to redo some command. For example, I mistakenly use Control plus Z. Okay, so to bring back the whole text, I will use simply Control plus Y. For example, let me say I just mistakenly use Control Z. So what I would do is Control Y, and I got my control back. Cool. Then we have Control plus A to select all the text. For example, if I Control A, the whole text is saved in one, is selected in one go. Cool. Then we have a very important command, that is Control plus Shift plus enter, control plus enter, sorry, to go to the newer page. Now why I say it is very important, I usually prescribe students to start their newer answers from a newer page. Okay, so to go to the newer page, what they do is they continuously hit this enter key. Now it is very time taking. Plus, in case you want to add something in between your documents, for example, from between page 1 and page 2, so what would happen that your whole text will move downwards or upwards. Okay, so even if you are starting with a newer page, what will happen in between, that it will go either in the between of the page or at the end of the page. Okay, so that's not presentable at all. So instead, doing this repeatedly enter, what you will do is control and enter, you will press two keys simultaneously. Okay, control enter. So you go to newer page. Now whatever you add in between, this text will always come from the start of the page, and that's what advice to the students. Cool. Next we have control plus F to find some word. Okay, so this is something basic, that if you want to find something in your Word document, now that's control plus F. Okay, so these are some 10 basic shortcuts, and yes, control C, copy text, control V, paste text, and sometime if you want to cut something, so that's control X. Student usually confuse between cutting and copying text, so copy is control C and cutting is control X, cut text. Okay, now in CM1 we have various notation like for annuity and assurances, and it is very inconvenient to type them regularly. Okay, and for those who use equation editor and they are not used to the mathematical symbols that are provided by IFOA, it becomes pretty confusing. So for those students, what I will do is the use of equation editor and saving these files, saving these equations for quicker use. So for that, please note the shortcut. It's Alt plus F3. Sorry. To save equations for the quicker use. Okay, I'll teach how to use them. For example, for those who don't know how to use the equation editor, it's Alt plus equal to. Okay, to insert an equation. So let's try doing these. So we have Alt equal to, we got the equation. Now for those who are first time using this equation editor, this equation might come in the center, not in the left, but we prescribe students to use the left alignment because it looks professional and presentable. So what you will do is go to this arrow. Okay, then we have here justification. Yours might be set as center, convert it to left, click OK. Click default first. Okay, otherwise if you are only clicking OK, it will only remain for this document, but if you click default, it will remain for throughout the document. Okay, so go for default, then yes, and then OK. Now whenever you hit Alt equal to, it will always come in the left side, and that's what we wanted. Cool. Now I was telling you how to save an equation for the quicker use. For example, I want to use the word pound. Okay, let me save the pound here. So I would go for first to insert symbol, and I got the pound here. Okay, now I want to save it, for example, for shortcut E. Okay, so I would select it, then press Alt F3. Here this name, at this name I would say E. Okay, and then OK. Now whenever I want to insert this pound symbol in my equation, what I will do is I would type the name assigned to it, I assigned E to it, then I would simply press F3. I hope this is clear. Let's do it again. I assign the name E to it, then I would press F3. Similarly, if I want to use, for example, this sign, I want to save this as AN. Okay, this is something, this is a series function. We would be learning how I type this as well. So I would do Alt F3, then I would assign the name AN to it, then I press and change this insert content only, insert content in its own paragraph, then OK, then yes. Now whenever I write AN, then I press F3, we get this. So this is also clear. Now let's move to our specific questions. Okay. So as I said, we would be covering chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 today. So let us open our mat. So firstly, we would be doing this 1.6 question. We would be doing this 1.6 question. So a 182 treasury bill redeemable at 100 was purchased for $96.5 at the time of issue and later sold to another investor for $98 who held the bill to maturity. The rate of return received by the initial purchaser was 4% per annum effective rate. Calculate the length of time in days for which the initial purchaser held the bill. So let's start doing it. So we are doing question number 1.6. We are doing first part. We either can give the heading to the, what we are doing in this question. So we are basically finding the length of time. We can, this is very optional, you can either give the heading of the part or you can not. This is completely up to you. So let us first type the equation, what we will get the equation. So we get the 96.5 into 1 plus 0.04 raised to the power. Now how we would go to this superscript? Control Shift plus. It's Control Shift plus. In some laptops it might be Control plus only, so it's up to you. Check your laptop, it is Control Shift plus or Control plus. Okay, then we write time. Let us consider this time in days. Okay, in year, sorry. Then to come back to the normal script from a superscript, we would again press Control Shift plus. Cool. Now this is equal to 98. So we can do is shift our 96.5 to the right hand side. So what we are left with 1.04, Control Shift plus T, Control Shift plus to come back to the normal script is equal to 98 by 96.5. This I am showing is normal mathematical typing. Next question I will be doing from equation editor, so don't worry. Okay. Then let's take log both sides. So we will write this step. Okay, since this is very short answer, so we have to write this step as well. Taking log both sides of the equation. So this becomes T star, Control Z to undo the capital that it has came. Okay, let me show you again. What I did was I pressed T. So this became capital, but I wanted a small t. So what I did was Control Z. Okay. Then it becomes log 1.04 is equal to log 98 by 96.5. Okay. Then this t becomes log 98 by 96.5 whole divided by log 1.04. Now you can put this whole value in the calculator and you can get the answer as 0.39327. Now since this is in years, so we would also write the units. Now please note that this units also contains half or 0.25 marks. Okay. And now we want to convert it into days. So what we will do is multiplying, converting into day. So converting into days. Now there are two assumptions, either we take 365 in a whole year or we take 365.25. So whatever assumption you are taking, you have to note that in your script, and then you can continue with either, unless and until it is given in the question. Let us check first if it is given in the question or not. So no, it is nowhere mentioned that how many days are there in a year. So we can either assume 365.25 or we can assume 365. Whatever approach is okay, but you have to note it down in your script. Okay, so assuming there are 365 days in a year, T becomes, again it got capital, so I would press Ctrl Z, is equal to 0.39327 into 365 is equal to, now I will bold out the final answer since it is my final answer, 143.545 days. Now this is very unprofessional type, like I am converting the days in decimals. Okay, I have got the days in decimals. So what I would do is I would round off the day. Okay, so anything over 143 would be 144th day. Okay, even if it would be 143.02, it would become obviously 144, because 143 days have completed and now we would shift to 144 days. So we would write it or about 144 days. Okay, so this was our question. Now let's move to our second part. Calculate the annual simple rate of return. We have been asked simple rate of return achieved by the second investor. So let's do this question as well. So we know that we are getting. Now we are talking about the second investor. Okay, so since the first investor hold its treasury bill for 144 days and the total time was 182 days. So the remaining portion, first we will calculate the remaining time. Since the original investor held the bill for 144 days, the bill was held by the second investor until the 182 day time period exhaust. You can write either of the theory, it's completely up to you. That is 182 minus 144 is equal to 38 days. Now this statement completely carries half to 1 mark. Okay, so the simple rate of return achieved by the second investor is the solution to the following equation of value. What is the equation? 98, we are keeping it for 38 out of 365 days since we are getting the annual effective rate, okay, annual simple rate. So this, sorry, there is some error, yeah, and this is equal to 100. Now solving this equation, we get 1 plus 38 by 365 I is equal to 100 by 98, and we get I is equal to Control Z. Since I again got the capital version, this I get as 0.19603. Now we would convert it into percentage. Always remember converting the interest rates into percentages, okay, or the probability as well, and rounded off percentages. You are supposed to give the decimal answers in 4 to 5 decimal places, not more than that, not less than that. You are not supposed to early approximate your answers, and if you are giving the answer in the percentages form after giving a decimal based answer, so you are supposed to give 2 dp onlys. Okay, so this becomes 19.60 percentage. Let's not save this. Look, this is the continuously control plus s habit I have. You should also develop that habit. Now let's move to a third part. Calculate the annual effective rate of return. Now we are being asked annual effective rate of interest achieved by the second investor. Okay, so we have this general formula with us. So we are doing annual effective rate of return. Okay, so time period remains same. The equation of value now becomes what it becomes 98 1 plus I raised to the power. Now I have to go to superscript. So what I would do is control shift plus. Then we have 38 by 365. Now I want to come back to the normal script. Now again control shift plus, and this is equal to 100. Again we can write 1 plus I superscript, control shift plus, 38 by 365, control shift plus to come back to the normal script is equal to 100 by 98. Now we can simply write solving this. We have to show 1 to 2 steps in each calculation, then you can simply show the solving this equation. Now it also depends on the mark, since this part is only 2 marker. Okay, so 1 marker, 1.1 marker is for the equation of value and the 1 step, and another marker is for the final answer. Okay, so we get this as 100 by 98 raised to the power minus 365 by 38, and this would be whole minus 1. This is the equation I derived, so you can check it. This we get 0.2416. Now again converting it to percentage, we get 21.42 percentage per annum. Now you can see I rounded off this to 416 into just 2. Okay, so this is what is expected with you in the exam. Like this answer, this DP in at least 5 to 6, and this in only 2 to 3. So now I want to move to the next question. Okay, so what I prescribed is going to the next page whenever we are starting a new question. So to go to the next page, we would hit control enter simultaneously. Okay, control enter. Cool. So I hope this question is very well clear to you guys. You can just have a glimpse of it. Now let's move on to our next question. Let's take a question for chapter 2. So here we would be doing 2.3 question, and then we would be moving to 2.10 question. Okay, so let's start. Let's read this question. Calculate the annual effective interest rate corresponding to part A, the nominal rate of interest of 11% per annum convertible half yearly, and then part B is nominal rate of interest of 12% convertible monthly. So let's do it. So we are doing question 2.3. Okay, so we have first part, and then we have a further sub part, first A. So I can do it first A, then let's do it. So let us write the equation. What is the equation of value here? Let's do it from equationator this time. Okay, as I promised. So equation of value becomes, now I usually advise student that write the normal text like this. I wrote in normal text. Don't use equation editor to write the statements of words. Okay, this is usually first of all, this brings the document, this brings the text in this way area. Okay, and the text may not be visible. Okay, so let's do it. So our equation becomes alt equal to insert this equation bar, then we get bracket 1 plus I simply. Now to go to the subscript, superscript, here control shift plus won't work. So what we will do is shift and this sign. Okay, sign over 6 number in your laptop, in a keyboard, sorry. Then we would make it to sorry, we have this equation as 1, and then we have 1 plus I. Now we have double bracket, we have to use double bracket. Why? One bracket will vanish once it goes to the superscript, and one bracket we want to keep it in the superscript, that's why we have to use 2 brackets. Okay, then now we want to send it to the superscript, so we will press the space bar. Okay, brackets, now we want to divide it by 2, so simply /2 again space bar, then a brackets again space bar. Now we want a 2 in the superscript of this as well, so we want this. Okay, now let's solve it. So again we press alt equal to get the further equation, then we have I is equal to 1 plus I raised to the power double brackets 2 double brackets space bar by 2 space bar bracket space bar raised to the power 2 space bar. Now this one will get into minus. Okay, now let's put on the values. I is equal to 1 plus I raised to the power double brackets 2 double brackets space bar, sorry, we have to put the value here, right? So 0.11 by 2 space bar raised to the power 2 is equal to minus 1 is equal to, then we write the final answer, which is 0.113025. We will convert it into the percentage as I promised, then bold out answer 11.30 percentage per annum. I hope this is clear. Let's move to the second part. Second part. So equation of value now becomes, what will it be? Now since we have given the formula in the upper section, what we can do is avoid this line, we can just simply move to this and this. Okay, 1 plus I is equal to brackets 1 plus, now this time it's convertible monthly, so I, this sign, double brackets 12 this time, double brackets, a space bar to move it into a superscript, then divide by 12 to bring it to the fraction, brackets, then 12. Okay, now we just simply do it by putting the values, 1 plus 0.12 by 12 space bar, brackets close, space bar raised to the power 12 space bar to move it to the superscript, then minus 1, this we get equal to 0.126825, this is equal to, bold out the final answer, okay, 12.68 percentage per annum. Let's move on to the second part now. Let's read what does the second part says to us. Calculate the rate of interest convertible monthly corresponding to an annual effective rate of interest of 14.2% per annum. Okay. So either we can use, for part A and B we can use this type of equation, otherwise we can use the simple formula of the convertible rate that we have been given in the CM1. Okay. So let's do the second part with the formula only. So this is alt equal to double brackets is equal to 12 brackets. This is 1 plus I raised to the power brackets. Now since we have a fraction in the power, okay, not a single letter, so we will use the brackets here, 1 by 12. So do it, space bar for getting the fraction format, then bracket close, and space bar for giving it in the superscript format. Okay, this minus 1 and this, again space bar, and this becomes, now putting the values in it, 1.142 raised to the power brackets 1 by 2 space bar for the fraction format, it is 12 by, sorry, space bar for the O is equal to 0.133518, that is bolding out the final answer 13.352%, or I can write it 13.35%. Cool. For the second, let us use the another equation we have just formatted here. So we know that 1 plus I raised to the power double brackets by 12, this raised to the power 12, this is equal to 1 plus I double brackets 3, since it is convertible 3 times in the year, space bar 3. Okay. Now putting on the values whatever we have, and finally getting out whatever we want. So we get alt equal to I to the power double brackets 12 is equal to, we get it as 1 plus I3 की वैल्यू डाल देते हैं, so it is 0.11 by 3 bracket raised to the power 3 by 12 minus 1, and this whole multiplied by 12. Now here a bracket is missing, so let's insert this bracket and get this. Okay, so we get the value as 0.108519, that is bolding out the final answer and converting it into a percentage form, we get 10.85% per annum. So this was the second part, and this completely was the 2.3 question, as you can see. Now going on to the next question, 2.10 we are supposed to do. The force of interest is given by this, calculate the present value of time at 10. So we have to calculate the present value of this. Okay. So this will use the integration, right? So let's start with the integration. A little heavy concept, but it's easy once you get a practice of it. Now please, practice is the key of getting an efficient and effective answer in the exam. Okay, if you are thinking that okay, I do the concepts on papers and I will directly write in the exam or just 2-3 days before the exam, no, you are not getting the speed. Your mind will not think. Your mind will only go into typing or either into solving the question. Okay, so you have to build the practice of doing two things simultaneously, thinking about the answer and typing the answer at the same time. Okay, so please start your typing from day 1 of your actuarial preparation. So let's do it. So we have to calculate present value. Okay, so I am just directly writing the equation. Please refer the live classes of sir for the concept. Present value at time 2 is given by the following expression or equation. So let us use the equation editor for this question, and we will doing second part from the normal typing. Okay, so alt equal to PV. For going to the subscript in equation editor, what we will do is shift and this minus sign. So we get this underscore. Okay, brackets t equals 2. If we have to only bring t into the subscript, then we would not use bracket and simply write t, but we have to bring in the whole line like t equals 2 in the subscript. That's why we have to use the brackets. Okay, so now it will bring whatever we have in the bracket to the subscript without a bracket. Okay, this. So if we want a bracket in the subscript, so we have to use double brackets. I hope this is clear. That's why we use double brackets in the superscript. Same goes for superscript, same goes for subscript. No doubt. Equal to 1000 star exponential brackets. Now we have a minus sign, so minus sign. For integration, what we will do is backslash int. We have to type this int and give a space. We got this integration. Now to put on the limits, this underscore lower limit, this sign upper limit, press a space. Okay, if you want to press a space, now we get this box like structure here. Okay, so whatever we are writing in this box like structure is assumed to stay within this integral. So to move out this integral, we have to escape this box like structure. Okay, so let's type the equation. It's 0.08 minus 0.001 t brackets close dt brackets. Now we have to escape this. So what we will do is, if we kept on pressing the enter, this blue line will go on. Okay, so to escape this, we will grab the arrow key. Okay, then brackets space. Okay, then to get the another again minus backslash int to get the integral, this underscore to get the lower limits, this to get the upper limit, space, then we will write the text which is 0.025 t minus 0.04 brackets close dt. Then to escape this box, we will click on this arrow key, space, space, again an exponent minus backslash int to get the integral, putting the limits 5, 10, then the text. To escape this, the arrow key, brackets closed, and we get this equation. Now let's solve it. So we get again PV underscore brackets t equals 2 is equal to 1000 star exponent bracket minus this bracket 0.08 t minus 0.0005 t square. So superscript, then this bracket close. Now we will place the limits here as well. Okay, so underscore for the lower limit and the sign for the upper limit. Okay, brackets close, this an exponent again minus this 0.0125 t square minus 0.04 t, this close bracket. Then we have to place the limits. So lower limit 3, upper limit is 5, pressing a space bar, brackets closed, space bar, again the last exponential term we will get it at 0.03 t, brackets closed, putting the limits, space bar, brackets closed, space bar. Okay, then enter. Now let's solve it. So we will get 1000 star e. Now move everything to the e part. So raised to the power, brackets again, since we have to write the whole words, a set of words, not a single word or single letter, single number. That's why we have to use the brackets. Whatever we write in the bracket goes in the superscript and the bracket vanishes. Cool. So minus 0.005 2355 minus 0.158. Now space, again E, brackets minus 0.1125. These are the calculations, you can do it by yourself. Brackets closed, again e to the power minus, basically we have just put in the limits. Cool. Now we have missed brackets here, so we can use the arrow keys to move throughout this equation, or we can simply use the mouse. Okay. Cool. Now this solves as 1000 star e raised to the power minus 0.3475. Okay. Oh, I missed the power sign, right? So minus 0.3475. I missed the e as well. Is equal to 706.45. Now you know that we saved the pound sign with an e and we want a pound sign here. So E F3. Wait. Let's write a final answer E F3, back to this 0.6.45, and we will just bold out the answer. Now let's move to the second part. Annual effective rate of return. So if the annual effective rate of interest is I, now I just noted की notation लिख दी है I की, you can skip this part as well, because I is assumed as a basic notation for the universally accepted notation for the interest rate. But if you are using a specific notation that is not standard but you are using it, for example if you are using A for alpha, so that's not standard at all. So you have to mention it at the start of the question or the start of the part, that assuming A is the alpha or using A as the alpha in throughout the question. So you have to mention that. Okay, so we get the equation as 706.45 1 plus I raised to the power 8 space bar is equal to 100. Now let's solve it for this. I is equal to 1000 by 706.45 raised to the power, this becomes 1 by 8, 1 by 8, again I have to get it into the brackets, space is equal to minus 1 we get is equal to 4.44% per annum. We can just bold out this answer, or you could have done that, first bring out the answer in the decimal and then convert it into percentage. I would advise that only. Okay. So this was our part 2. So this is basically how we performed our 3 questions. We have used integral in our first class as well. We have performed this basic superscript and subscript. We also understood how we have to save an equation and get that equation in the further questions or the further scripts. Then we got this complicated nested equationator as well. And we covered a question with the normal typing as well. And we started with the basic MS Word shortcuts. So winding up this class, as we have already covered 40 to 50 minutes I guess. Yes, we have already covered 45 minutes. So we are winding up the class for this. We will continue the further chapters in the further classes. Now these were some specific questions that I felt that I should teach you guys. Okay. Now if you want some specific questions that you want me to type and teach you how to type that answer, you can text our institute, you can text our team, or put it on a doubt portal, and we can cover those questions in the next class. Okay, so thank you guys, keep preparing, happy learning.